Good morning. I wanted to bring to your attention all of the wonderful Transformer news that's been coming out recently, as it is now Comic Con season, and all of the announcements that we've been waiting for are finally being released. So let's just get underway, shall we? Let's start with the probably the biggest and most exciting announcement, in my opinion, which is the Quintesson 5 pack. That would have been a Comic Con exclusive released by Hasbro, and it shows off basically the 1986 Transformers movie pit scene where the Quintesson judges and guards attempted to dip Hot Rod and Cup into the Sharktacon pit. And as you can see in this image, you have the Quintesson judge, the bailiff character, and the squiddy looking prosecutor, the victim from the alien transformer from Lithone, and a Sharktacon in the Sharktacon pit. Quintessons happen to be a special type of character in the Transformers lore. As action figures, they've never really seen much release except for the Sharktacon figure. So this year is the first time we've ever seen an official Quintesson figure, an official Alicon figure. This is the first year for that too. And even though they're not articulated, you do get to see the first official prosecutor Quintesson. I believe the escapee from Lithone's name is Kranix. We have had a figure named Kranix before. I don't think he looked very G1, so this is a closer approximation. Although this little minifigure appears to only have articulation in the shoulders, and so he doesn't transform. The Quintesson is pretty much the same as the Hasbro Pulse release that's going to also get a retail release, except this one has more of a premium paint job. The bailiff figure, on the other hand, he has different colors from the regular forest green Alicon release. This one has more of a muddy type of color scheme, which is, you know, Floro Deary's artwork, on which these designs were based on, had colors that were a little bit more like the bailiff you see here. So this does match up a little closer to the original design work. The Sharktacon release is the same as the one that was released in the Takara Legends line, but it has just a bit of a shinier, sleeker paint scheme. And what would a bailiff guard be like without the standard weapon staff that they would patrol and poke at their victims with? This little diorama is probably one of the best things that's ever been released. There was another release for last year's Comic Con, which featured an Optimus Primal seated on a throne. It was also made of cardboard, and it was a really cool playset. I think that the colors they used here are really stunning. I think anyone who's a Transformers fan that liked the '86 movie would really appreciate this, and it makes you wonder if you should cancel your pre-order for the Quintesson just to pick this one up, since it has the better color schemes. Although the throne it sits in is blue, whereas the retail Quintesson chair is green, and there may be some differences in that little blast effect that it's floating on. You can see the little translucent beam of light effect that it's sitting on. That might be different for the retail release. If I could, just for a brief moment, talk a little bit about the lore of the Quintessons, it's interesting that the G1 storyline has been pretty much overlooked as far as what the roles in the story of Transformers have been. Originally, they were the creators of both the Autobots and Decepticons, so they were the uh, creators and manufacturers of these two. They were treated as basically supplies and weapons to be sold to other alien races around the universe. And in more recent fiction, it's become more popular to assume that Primus and his merry band of the 13 Primes were the original creators of the Transformers. So the Quintesson storyline has just gone out of favor over time. I think the Unicron Primus 13 story matches a little bit better with the kind of fancy epic backstory that the Transformers need, and the idea that the Transformers were created as supply and demand figures. I think that that's a little too close to reality. Basically, the Quintessons are kind of like the Hasbro of the universe, which I think is kind of funny in a way because they're kind of slimy and tentacly and Cthulhu-y, and they happen to have the same role in the story that um, Hasbro has. So there's something to be said about that. Here's some packaging art from the back of the box. It comes from one of the scenes, one of the frames, I think, from the Transformers '86 movie, but done with realistic um, design. It's really nice. So again, it is nice that we're getting a bailiff guard and the prosecutor. The bailiff has a completely different head mold from the regular retail Alicon release, and a different weapon and a different color scheme. And I believe a new chest mode as well, has a bit more of an alien chest. So it is nice that we're finally getting all of the Quintesson characters, with the exception of perhaps the scientist is not getting a release. That was also from the cartoon. And the executioner is not getting a release as well, which is that little mantis like guy at the lever. And, he's just not getting a release, which is a shame, but maybe one day. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll also get, along with the prosecutor and the judge and the bailiff, we might also get a Quintesson defense attorney one day. So the Quintesson pack will be available for order through Hasbro Pulse, I believe, and it's scheduled to come out in September. Even though fans might already be aware of the release of Grease Pit and Exhaust, this was the fans' first Friday where they officially revealed them to the public. They've been out already in certain retail locations. So Grease Pit is the Decepticon Micromaster base, and Exhaust is a character that did get a release back in the day. He was sort of a wheeljack type vehicle, but he had racing stickers that had Marlboro branding all over it. So even though you can't really sell that anymore, the Marlboro brand has gone out of favor for a kid's toy. Apparently, there's little Easter eggs on the figure that still paying homage to its original release and its connection to smoking. Through the Walmart exclusives, there will be more figures based on the Netflix series trilogy. So, for example, there's going to be a new Prowl and a new Red Alert that will be released that will have their Cybertronian appearances. Um, Actually, I believe Red Alert was released as the in an Earthrise line already, so he didn't come with battle damage. Now you can pick up the Cybertronian release, which will feature his battle damage. And the Prowl originally had a siege only figure, so now you're getting the Earthrise one with the English lettering on the side, and without the battle damage for Earthrise, which will be may make some fans happy. I know some people didn't like the battle damage. I thought it was okay, but I can understand how you, if this is your G1 figure, then you probably want it to look as pristine as possible. And I think that the next most exciting figure is probably the Walmart exclusive, which is the Soundwave set that featured Soundwave in his cassette tape player mode for Earthrise, and he comes with his two little minions, Laserbeak and Ravage, ready to step out onto the battlefield. Originally, his Siege Cybertronian appearance had him look like a Decepticon ship, which also had a hidden mode of turning into a street light, but now we're getting the proper Soundwave from G1, which is his cassette recorder. And as of this recording, this figure is already sold out on pre-order through Walmart. We've discussed in the past how Walmart has issues with being collector friendly and being more of a place where scalpers can pick up figures way too easily. Obviously, this was going to be a much desired release. I think any G1 fan would have appreciated this, and well, now it's going to be really tough to get your hands on one of them. But it features no battle damage on Soundwave, and the minions he comes with, Laserbeak now sports a more Earth-looking body design. He looks more like his bird-like appearance, and the same goes for Ravage, just a little bit more cat-like, and they will come bundled together, the three of them, so that will be nice to pick up. Next up is a new release for Wheeljack. Wheeljack came as an Earthrise figure, and now he has a Cybertronian counterpart available through. This one is going to be an exclusive through Hasbro Pulse. So if you like the Cybertronian design, then you can pick up Wheeljack before he came to Earth. However, the argument is kind of it's difficult to weigh the two options, because if you already have the Earthrise Wheeljack, then you might not be inclined to pick this one up unless you're more of a completionist when it comes to this line of figures. But he does have a slightly different paint scheme. It looks like he has all the weathering and battle damage, and this will probably the way that Wheeljack appears on the Netflix show. So there's something to be said about that. And here's some really great news. They're reusing the RC Earthrise mode model to release an Alita 1 figure for the Netflix series. And I think this is really nice. Alita 1 had only previously had a release in the, I think it was Combiner Wars or Power of the Primes, where she could combine with her other female companions to form a larger figure, and it had kind of a blockier, less feminine appearance. Since she is modeled more after RC in this case, you can get her to pose a little bit better. I think she has a more stunning silhouette. I really like the red on this figure. That sort of cherry red really stands out. I know this is only a CG render, but still it's already looking better than the pink for RC. And if you haven't had a chance to have an Alita 1 in your collection, then this might be the figure you'll want to pick up for that.